Whoa, whoa, whoa. We can't start with the boss. There is a lot more to show than just that. So strap in, folks, because this is gonna be a long one. Hello, and welcome back to the Spellslinger Devlog series. Last time, I showcased part of the prologue region of Spellslinger, the Vault of Echoes. But with how much there is to show, I only actually got through about half of the content. But now, I'm picking up where I left off for part 2. Which, yes, technically I did leave off on the boss, but I'll save that for later. For now, let's start with the map. I have barely shown Spellslinger's map because it's been a work in progress for a long time, but it's finally in a good state to show. And here it is. Right, we don't actually have a map yet. See, the map isn't just given to you, you have to earn it. On the map, you will see a few different types of areas. Combat encounters, exploration areas, which we'll get to later, and runestones. Runestones are a type of puzzle in Spellslinger. You will find a runestone in each region of the map, and completing one will reveal its region. Runestones give you 12 tiles that you will need to use to spell 4 four-letter words. The last letter of each word is the first letter of the next word, looping back to the first word at the end. For example, here I have the word rush, where the last letter is H, so the next word starts with an H, and I can do something like held. Runestones provide a fun challenge, and because they are randomly generated each time, they are very replayable. And the puzzles can be a little tricky sometimes. Too tricky, in fact. See, I use a 180,000 word list for Spellslinger to confirm if a word is valid or not. This list contains pretty much every word you would want to spell, and some words that you would probably never think to spell. But the runestones simply just go through this list and choose 4 four-letter words, making sure the first and last letters line up to match the runestone criteria. That means that any 4-letter word can be part of the puzzle solution, even ones that you wouldn't know. So you can have words like rush or held, but then you can also get words like Oz or Coombs, which doesn't even have vowels in it? It's a Welsh word, by the way. Anyways, this was problematic because it added a layer of frustration when it seemed like your runestone was impossible. So, I added a hint button. Defeating enemies in Spellslinger awards you with XP to level up, but also gold. Gold can be used to buy things in shops, which currently don't exist, but it is also used for runestone hints. Buying hint will show you the first letter of the first word. Subsequent hints, costing more and more gold each time, show you the first letters of the next words. These hints can be very helpful to figure out what letters you need to use as the corner tiles versus the middle tiles. Although, while the hints give you the letters of the randomized solution, it is possible that you could get a different solution, as any valid 4-letter words are accepted. Even with hints though, the unreal words that you can get still make runestones a bit frustrating. So, I sat down for a couple hours and manually went through the word list to curate it to be only sensible words, going from about 4,000 words to only about 2,500. It was worth the time though, because now runestones are much better. Anyways, once you spell 4 valid words, you can activate the runestone. And, for the activation, I made some effects that I think are pretty cool. First of all, during the runestone, there are some drums playing as background music, but every valid word you spell adds a layer of instruments to the track. And once you get all 4 words and activate the runestone, you get an animation. Then, you are sent to the map where the region is revealed. So, welcome to the true Vault of Echoes map. You've also probably noticed a variety of buttons at the bottom of the map screen. You have your collection where you can equip spells and artifacts, the skill sphere where you can invest your skill points from leveling up into various stats, and the mana vault where you can equip your incantations. But you also have the journal. The journal will be given to you by Jangles at the start of the game, and is where you can see quests. Quests will serve as a reminder and tracker for your goals throughout the game, with the first quest being the lift in the vault. If you remember from part 1, the lift out of the Vault of Echoes is sealed, and you will need to find and awaken 5 spellstones around the vault to take the lift up to Primordia. The journal will allow you to see your progress of these spellstones, although you can also go to sealed lift to see which ones you have awakened. You might also notice that the quest tab is a little lonely on the journal, with a lot of open space. That's because the journal will be greatly expanded in the future, with a bestiary, recipe book, and more. In part 1, I showed 4 of the 5 spellstones that you will need to awaken, but the last one is actually hidden. On the map, you can see the elemental chambers where the spellstones reside, with the final one at the top of the vault, but there isn't a clear way to get there. That's because areas in Spellslinger might be hidden to you. However, if you hover your mouse over nearby landmarks on your map, you can reveal these hidden areas. This area is Withering Workshop, and completing it will grant you access to the final elemental chamber, and will unlock the Cauldron. I've showcased the Cauldron on a previous devlog, but now that the prologue has all new enemies, there are also different ingredients, and a lot more of them. You can get ingredients that boost various damage types, give you crit chance, buff your tiles, and more. And new ingredients also means more unique elixirs to discover. And these elixirs will be helpful as you get to the Chamber of Life, where the first boss of the game awaits. But before we get to that, let's talk about exploration areas. We'll get to the boss, I promise. Exploration areas take a step back from the intense combat of the game and simply let you explore. Mural of the Knights, for example, is a room in the Vault of Echoes containing murals of the fallen generals of the Primordia army, with descriptions of their accomplishments. Exploration areas will contain a lot of these lore tidbits to help flesh out the world of Spellslinger, but they might also contain some goodies for you to unlock. You might find spellbooks with incantations to learn, or magic murals. Magic murals have various numbers of elemental runes on them. You can activate them and learn their incantations if you have enough spells of the given element. So this magic mural has one arcane rune to unlock the incantation Arcane Pebble. When you first come here, you likely won't be able to activate it, but if you come back after unlocking Arcane Strike, you can get an incantation. These magic murals will be dotted around various exploration areas with varying requirements, so keep an eye out for them. You also might have noticed in exploration areas, you still have a tile grid. In some areas, this doesn't really do anything, but some areas might contain puzzles where you need to spell certain words to complete them. I won't spoil any puzzles, but I am very happy with what I have designed so far, and I'm looking forward to making more in the future as a nice variation in gameplay. But now, with everything finally covered, we can get into the Chamber of Life. The Chamber of Life is a moss-covered area with stony roots coming from the ceiling. In this area, you will face some tough enemies, along with a new enemy, the Mossmite. The Mossmite isn't too powerful, but it does have two different attacks, one where it jumps at you for a melee attack, and one where it tosses a rock at you for a ranged attack. You'll have to pay attention to the attack indicator to see what move it is doing and block with the correct disruption type. But if you can make it through 3 waves of enemies, the Spellstone will activate, bringing life and blooming flowers into the chamber, and awakening a powerful foe. The Moss Golem. The Moss Golem is the first boss of the game, with a whopping 140 HP. The Moss Golem also has a variety of different attacks it can use against you. The first one is a slam that sends a shockwave towards you, but also binds Crush to 2 of your tiles. If you remember the Ice Hunter from part 1, it made Ice Snare tiles that inflict freeze on you when you use them. Ice Snare and Crush are examples of tile bindings, which are effects that can be put onto tiles. Some are permanent, and some have a duration like Crush, where in this case, the Crush-bound tiles will go away after 3 turns. Crush is a binding that sets the tile's value to 0, meaning it will do no damage. You can still use these, but your word will not be as powerful. The Moss Golem can also bind Crush through another attack, Rock Launch. This attack has the Moss Golem throw a rock at you that binds Crush on hit. Be careful though, as while the indicator only shows one ranged attack is incoming, the rock bounces off of you, so you'll need to block it again. The Moss Golem's last attack will have the Golem slam the ground 3 times, each time launching a small rock at you. You will have to block 3 rocks in a row to— oh, I died. Well, luckily, bosses have checkpoints. The difficulty of bosses comes from their vast array of moves you have to learn how to block, and the strategies that you need to come up with to beat them. Overall, it can be frustrating not getting to actually learn the boss's attack patterns because you took too much damage in the first few waves and died quickly on the boss. Or just frustrating because you have to spend time clearing the first few waves again every time you die. So, I have made it so that way once you reach a boss, instead of traveling to the area normally, a boss button appears, and clicking it will skip straight to the boss. Although of course, you can still play the area again if you want, since replaying the area from the start does give you time to set up your grid with spells for the boss. Either way, this allows me to make bosses much more challenging, and allows me to not worry about the difficulty of the area beforehand as much, since I'm not expecting players to go through it each time they fight the boss. So, let's try the Moss Golem again. After getting the Moss Golem to 60% HP or less, it will summon 2 Moss Mites as minions to attack you as well. This adds a little bit more danger to the fight, as you will need to block them as well. But you can also divert your attention for a bit to take them out and make the fight easier. And there's another trick to the fight as well. The Moss Golem has a flower on its back that is actually targetable. The flower has 60 HP and is linked to the Moss Golem. Any damage it takes is dealt to the Golem as well, except the damage to the Golem is doubled. Using your spells to target the flower lets you take out the Golem much faster. Spellslinger will have a lot more enemies in the future with multiple parts like this, so pay attention to what you can target. And once you do take down the Moss Golem, you get the heal spell and have now activated the final spellstone. Now you can head over to the sealed lift, activate the pillars, and congratulations on completing the demo. Right, this is where it ends. For now. This is at the end of the prologue, right before the big finale, and is also where the demo ends, which you can play on Steam right now. It has been a year and a half since I put out the initial demo, and it has been outdated for so long, but now there is finally an updated version of the game free for everyone to play. Although to see what happens next, you'll have to wait until the early access release of the game. Although there are a few secrets in the demo that I haven't covered, so if you play it, be on the lookout. But until the early access release, you can wishlist Spellslinger on Steam, which now finally has updated visuals that I'm super proud of. Or you can subscribe to this channel for more devlogs as I continue working on the game and sharing my progress with it. So, that is it for this devlog. There was a lot of content to cover over this 2-parter, but we are just getting started.